Also, a suicide bomber sets off a bomb near the U.S. consulate in Saudi Arabia overnight, and the death toll climbs to 200 killed in an attack at a Baghdad shopping center. We'll have more on the latest string of attacks. Let's spend some more time talking about some of these growing terror threats around the world. Counterterrorism expert Daveed Gartenstein-Ross joins me now via Skype. Let's talk about the last 2 days of Ramadan here, and we know that ISIS is calling for even more attacks on what is normally a holy month of prayer. First of all, what are security officials doing to try and prevent more attacks? Second of all, why Ramadan?
In terms of the security officials, obviously, as we can see, ISIS has a very broad reach. They've been able to carry out attacks in multiple countries. In addition to those which were already named, they've carried out an attack in Yemen. Obviously, there was also the Orlando attack by someone who was ISIS-inspired, though we're not sure what kind of connection there was to the network, which means that security officials all over the world are looking into how to deal with this. The bottom line is that for both in the Middle East and North Africa, at the end of Ramadan, it's hard to protect all of the places where people will be to come out and celebrate. And in Western countries, in the United States, for example, where we now have the 4th of July celebrations, you have so many crowds out that it's difficult to do. What they're trying to do more than anything is to disrupt any sort of plotting that occurs. In terms of ISIS, what they have argued is that in the last 10 days of Ramadan, as their spokesman Abu Muhammad al-Adnani stated, there's increased blessing if you carry out attacks or martyrdom operations. The specific theological basis for it is highly debatable, to put it kindly, but that's what they have clearly laid down for people who adhere to ISIS's ideology and who are its supporters.
We've heard a number of reports over the past few weeks, especially that ISIS is losing territory in Iraq, in Syria. How can it be that they're losing all of this land, if you will, but they're still able to carry out these kinds of targeted attacks?
It's the lag between when they set up networks in what they call their abroad and what's happening to them in the Iraq-Syria theater. They are indeed losing ground in the Iraq-Syria theater, and it's very, very clear. If you look, however, outside of the Iraq-Syria theater, they set up these networks well in advance in places like Bangladesh, in Libya, in Europe, which was unfortunately subjected to some major ISIS attacks. They were able to set up these networks that were able to carry out attacks, and that's one of the reasons why the U.S. and others see it as very important to push back their territory in Iraq-Syria, because as long as they have that space to train, to plot, to prepare people, they'll be able to establish more networks which can stretch into their abroad.
Daveed Gartenstein-Ross. Daveed, thank you. Coming up, we are 2 weeks away now from the start of the GOP convention.